Welcome back to the Bronx Journal. I'm Miguel Perez. After so many years of talk and very little action, Congress is getting ready to debate comprehensive immigration reform bill that could finally put some 11 million undocumented immigrants on a path to citizenship. But how does it happen? Who gets to benefit? The devil is still in the details, maybe. And today we're going to find out from an immigration attorney, Myriam Sánchez Hildenbrand. It's a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a wonderful opportunity that you're giving us today by being here, because we're anxious to speak to an immigration attorney, especially at this time when Congress just is about to debate this comprehensive immigration reform bill. So tell me in a nutshell what you see. Are you excited about it? Are immigration attorneys receptive to what is going on in Congress? Are you skeptical? Are you still looking for the details? I said in my introduction, the devil may still be in the details.
Absolutely. I think we're cautiously optimistic. The Senate bill was just introduced yesterday. It's close to 900 pages, and there really are very many details and very many hurdles that undocumented immigrants will have to go through just to get provisional residency. It's going to be a very long, tough path, that's for sure.
And it's the tough path, I guess the hurdles that they would have to jump over are more than the last comprehensive immigration reform that failed through Congress a few years ago. This one has a lot more hurdles, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Basically, there's something called registered provisional immigrant, and it would entail individuals who would have come into the country before December of 2011, and basically people would have to pay back taxes, they would have to pay penalties, you cannot have been convicted of a serious crime, and really it's contingent, the bill seems to be contingent on very strong border security. An E-Verify program system that's got to be implemented by U.S. employers to track all workers that are employed here. I mean, that's going to be very tough to implement this in the amount of time that's given. And basically with this provisional immigrant status, yes, you can work, you can travel, you can't vote, and it's not a full-fledged green card. It could be anywhere from 10 years from the time an individual were to get the provisional status until they got an actual green card.
A new category of second-class citizens who are sort of in limbo.
So to speak, I would think so. And I think that, you know, in trying, I think, obviously there has been this gang of eight, these 8 senators from both Republicans and Democrats. And frankly, I think that there has been a lot that was given as far as the Democrats gave in a lot, I think, to the Republicans.
I would say the Democrats caved.
I think that would be
because you know, normally, and this is what we see happening from Democrats on other issues as well, on gun control, which is such a strong issue right now. When they go and they try to negotiate with the Republicans and they say we're starting from the middle, and then the Republicans want to negotiate further and take it further to the right. I mean, why don't Democrats start from the left so that then they could reach the middle in these negotiations? It's happening all over again with immigration.
Absolutely, and it's really, I mean, we hope that this will come to pass and that maybe there will be gains. I mean, I think it's going to be I think the Republican and the Democratic thinking is that it'll be hard to sell to some of the really very strict Republicans out there, and so they're trying to package this bill in a way that can be sold.
Okay,
so
you mentioned December of 2011.
Yes.
That means that everybody who came illegally before that could qualify somehow.
Well, potentially speaking.
Everybody
yes.
who came after that does not qualify.
That's correct.
Still remains in the country illegally.
Absolutely. So that is the cutoff date that they have set, and that's, I guess, to make sure that there won't be people crossing the border just to get in under this new amnesty. And then, I mean, that was always a fallacy.
But in terms of like okay, so you take all of this, let's say they do, most of the 11 million undocumented immigrants here do qualify, and they apply and they go through this whole process. Does then, for them to actually become citizens or for them to get a green card, the border needs to be secured? Talk to me about that. And who gets to say that the border is secure?
Yeah, it's really tricky. From what I've read, and again, this is all very new, it appears that the provisional immigrant status would be pretty simple to get. I mean, as long as you paid the back taxes and the penalties and all of that. But then halfway down the road, it can be re-examined by Congress if border security is not deemed to be secure enough. And basically that would be from studies at the different southern border ports of entry, as far as entries of illegal immigrants, how many, of undocumented immigrants, how many undocumented immigrants are being caught at the border, apprehended, or returned. So it's really figures that are kind of up in the air.
But the concern that I've heard is that it could be up to border politicians, border governors. If border governors in 3 or 4 states that are right now governed by Republicans decide, okay, no, we don't think that the border is ready or is secure, then nothing else happens.
Well, that's...
They can stop it in just one. So why is the federal government passing a federal law that is going to depend on the will of 2 or 3 governors on the southern border? That's what doesn't make sense to me.
I think I completely agree with you. And yes, that is who would, because who's at the border? It's these border agents, and certainly we're talking about states like Arizona, Texas. I mean, certainly not the most immigrant-friendly
governors right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, if they were still in office, obviously they're going to, in fact, Janet Brewer from Arizona basically said, oh, I'm delighted with this immigration reform bill because I get to say when the border is ready. And basically she was saying, I'm never going to do that.
Absolutely. So I think that there's really a tough road ahead. And like we said, we don't even know if it would even get, if these people with potential provisional green card status would even get to the lawful permanent resident status, full-fledged that is, because a lot of it would depend on these individuals in the border states.
Does this, from what you've read of this bill that just came out, what does it do for the dreamers, for the younger people? Does it make the road a little shorter for them?
Yes, for dreamers it's a little bit simpler. And as you know, President Obama had passed the executive order granting deferred action to young people. And so for these individuals, it would actually be a shorter path, 5 years, to be able to apply for a green card. I mean, certainly not a short amount of time, but certainly a lot less than.
So 5 years for a green card and then another 5 years for citizenship.
That's correct.
10 years to vote.
So that's a long road.
Even for the dreamers, it would take 10 years for them to get to vote.
Even for dreamers, it would take quite a while.
And for the rest of them?
Well,
after the border states certify, let's say that the border states were to certify this next year. How much after that does the process call for them before they become citizens?
Well, the registered provisional immigrant status, they would have to have, that would be about, you know, a 5-year wait. And then after that, you know, once, if let's say that it's certified that the borders are, not just the borders, but also the e-verify system that has to be implemented.
Which is national.
Yes, I mean, I think that's going to be really tough as well. Then it would be re-examined, and you would have to pass, at that point, the immigrant would have to show that they're knowledgeable with the English language. They'd have to pass a civics test, more penalties along the way, more fees. And then at that point, the road to citizenship would be 3 years instead of the normal 5. From what I've read. But
after
I mean, it's still
they've done all these
that's
things.
correct.
So we're talking maybe 10, 15 years before any of these people get to vote.
Yes, yes.
Which is precisely what the Republicans were worried about, because after hammering undocumented immigrants for so long, they were afraid that these people were eventually going to come back and retaliate and vote against them or become Democrats.
Absolutely. And it's sad because I think that it has become a political... I think it's a political reality for the Republicans. I mean, we saw President Obama got more than 70% of the Latino vote. And I think for Republicans, this is seen, well, I mean, they've had to sort of join in the bipartisan efforts of trying to pass immigration reform. But how sincere is it really? And you're absolutely right. I mean, you can't vote unless you're a citizen, and it's a long road to citizenship for these people.
Are people going to see this? Are people going to see this? I mean, and why are the Democrats settling for this? That's what I don't understand. I mean, it looks to me like the polls are on our side now, those who want some kind of reform, and on the Democrat side, and it looks like the general public is behind some kind of change, finally, for immigration reform. Public opinion is behind it. Why not take that ball and run with it? And why be so moderate in this trying to negotiate with Republicans who are going to say, fine, oh, you're willing to give us all of this? Give us some more before we agree.
Yeah, I think that the Democrats did certainly give in a bit too much. And, you know, I think it remains to be seen. Immigration reform failed sadly in 2007, as we know, and hopefully this year will be different. But certainly, I think many Democrats feel that they had to add these border security provisions. They had to add these provisions regarding the E-Verify system just to get both sides talking.
And still, they're probably going to get very Machiavellian opinions from the extreme right against this very moderate bill.
Absolutely, and I think that it's a long road. It's certainly not a done deal. And
because there are people in Congress who are talking about, no way are we allowing, they're still calling it amnesty, and they're still, behind the movement to, self-deportation, which is what Mitt Romney wanted.
Absolutely, and this is not amnesty. There's no way this bill is amnesty. These are people that have been here for many years, many of them without criminal histories, with children that are born here, and this is their home. And I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous to deport 11 million undocumented immigrants who call this country home. And frankly, talking about border security, isn't it better to know who's within your borders?
Absolutely.
I mean, it just makes sense.
Listen, we're almost out of time, but where do people reach you? And, I imagine a lot of immigration lawyers like yourself are getting ready for whenever this law comes about to start helping people with the paperwork and so forth. What are you guys doing? What are lawyers doing nowadays in terms of preparation? You must be reading the newspaper every day to see what it is, which way you're going to take. Absolutely.
Well, we're just cautioning, all of the clients that call the office. Let's be cautiously optimistic and wait. I think, there's certainly a lot of unscrupulous people out there. There is no reform as of yet. Nothing has passed.
Notarios públicos doing all kinds of paperwork and charging people a lot of money when they're not really ready to help the people.
Absolutely. And I would just caution people, if immigration reform does pass, go to a licensed attorney, go to someone who knows the laws, understands the laws, and is there to be on your side and to help you, not to take your money, because there are a lot of unscrupulous individuals.
Where can people get a hold of you?
People can reach me at my law office is just downtown at 100 Church. 646-224-1147 is my phone number. I have a website in English, www.sanchezhildenbrandlaw.com, and in Spanish, it's www.abogadasanchez.com.
Listen, thank you very much for all your great advice, and maybe you can come back as soon as this law it starts evolving in Congress and they start debating it. You and I should keep this conversation going.
I would love that. That'd be great.
I love it too. So thank you very much. And we'll be back very soon with another edition of the Bronx Journal. So I hope you keep watching.